we don't talk about money enough, especially as women. So when we come together and we do it, it is like the gateway to doing more with our own money. Because talking leads to thinking, leads to strategizing, leads to making changes and transforming your financial life. And that is what we are all about at Factora. So I'm Allegra Moet Brantly. I'm the founder and CEO of Factora. We are a company on a mission to lead 1 million women to 1 million net worth. Thank you. It's a big mission. So how do we do that? We do that through a course and a community called the Wealth Circle. Raise your hand if you've ever taken a Wealth Circle. Woo! We've got more Wealth Circle women than Coffee and Coin attendees. I love it. So if you just raise your hand, you probably already like talking about money. No surprise you're here. If you haven't taken a Wealth Circle, talk to these women because they love to open up, discuss their finances, talk investment strategies. And this is what we want more women doing. This is why we built the Wealth Circle and why Factora exists. So without further ado, we're going to bring up our speaker, Jules. Come on up. Are you ready to be in the money hot seat?
I am. Hello.
Okay, just a few pieces of housekeeping before we get started. Feel free to head downstairs at any time if you want to re-up your beverages. We've got coffee, water, seltzers. There's restrooms down there, and they're also up here as well. So, Jules Acree is a local serial Austin entrepreneur. She's a digital creator. She's a YouTuber with 95,000 subscribers. No small feat. And she's someone I look up to immensely because she does a lot of content around how to simplify your life, slow down, and be more intentional in our very modern, chaotic, digitally obsessed world. So welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Yeah, so I'm Jules, and you did a great job introducing me.
You do way more. Give them the deets.
Yeah, I create video content on intentional living, digital organization, gentle productivity, and I'm all about creating tools and templates to help people create more time, space, and energy in their lives. Whatever you want to create more space for, my goal is to help people be able to be more efficient in their work days so you can shut the computer off and go live your life, have some hobbies, hang out with friends, all those types of things. So so I create video content, and I also have an online shop called The Homebodies, and that is a digital space where I create templates as well as digital journals and planners.
And matcha mugs, no?
Those are sold out.
Okay. Sorry, everybody. Okay, so does everyone have a beverage? Can we make a little toast before we get started?
Staying hydrated.
Woo, okay, we got a good beverage there. This is a simple toast, and it's just to women and wealth. Cheers.
Cheers.
All right. We're all here for the money stuff, right? So let's dig in and start from the beginning. Before we get to what it is you make and what you do with your money today as a digital content creator, let's go way back. I'd love to hear about your first money memory. And I'd love for the audience to think about your first money memory, because I've been doing this for a while now. Factora got started at the end of 2018, and I have noticed that it's about 50-50 for positive or negative first money memories. So doesn't matter what yours is, but let's hear yours.
So I'd say my first money memory was, so me as a kid, I was obsessed with dogs. Like my AIM screen name was Love Dogs 91. And I was always watching Breed All About It, Animal Planet, all of that. So I wanted to get a dog, and my dad said, okay, if you want a dog, then you can help pay for it. So now I'm all about rescuing, but back then we went to a breeder. So I had to save up money. Back then I was doing a little bit of like acting and small little gigs here and there. I think I was like 14 or something. So I saved $600 and helped pay for our dog, Misha.
I love it. What kind of dog?
A Maltese.
Okay.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit more about growing up. What was money like in your household? Was it talked about? What were some of the things you interpreted about money from your family?
So there were two things that my parents always instilled in me, and that was to save money and to always pay off my credit card in full. So those are the two things that I hold with me today, but it looks different in my life now. But I would say like growing up, we didn't talk a lot about money. I think that's kind of the stigma. Like back then, it was something that you didn't really open up about. Nobody wanted to know, didn't want to share like how much you made and things like that. So I think now, being in my 30s, having a community of women that I can talk to about finances has been super healing, I think, because, you don't know what you don't know. And the more we talk about it, the more we learn. So that was something that I kind of learned as I was growing up, was to like ask more questions, not be afraid to share my own numbers, and to be able to understand, like back then, my parents thought that all debt was bad. And that's actually not the case necessarily. So getting comfortable with understanding that some debt can be good, especially if it's appreciating over time and like depending on interest rates and things like that. So I've learned a lot.
I love it. Yeah, I always like to say that debt without a plan is not ideal. Debt with a plan can be very strategic and well structured to help you get ahead, right? Mm-hmm. So I think you're referencing mortgage debt, for example,
mortgage debt,
which we'll get into, but that's an appreciating asset that you can have for many years to come. Mm-hmm. So just a little shout out for Jules's mom, because she's over here today.
My Oma.
So let's talk a little bit about some of your first big purchases. I mean, obviously your Maltese stands out, but beyond that, maybe a first big purchase that you did on your own?
I'd say for me, my biggest purchase was getting our first house in Austin. That was something that I have a husband, and it opened up a whole new line of communication for us. And we hadn't talked about, we were always pretty open about money, but we didn't actually talk about like, what did our life together look like? What are our goals together as a couple? And so I'd say that was when we really started to take things more seriously, because it wasn't something that I was just doing on my own. It was something that we wanted to do together as a couple. So that took a lot of planning. That's when we started our monthly finance chats that we nerdily document in Notion, have a template all for. And so we would talk about, do we have any big purchases coming up? Are we spending in alignment with our values? We would look at Rocket Money. I think back then it was called True Bill or something. And we would look at our spending habits and see where we can cut back, or where we're spending in areas that matter to us. So that to me stands out as like a really big, important milestone, because that's when I think our relationship just kind of got taken to the next level, because we could talk about it in a safe space.
Totally. I mean, typically a home purchase will be one of the largest purchases, if not the largest purchase you ever make. I'm only saying one of the, because you might buy another home, it might be more expensive, but that's a big price tag. Were you all married when you went to buy that house?
Were we married? No, we weren't. I had to think back. This was 5 years ago when we first moved to Austin. We weren't married. We weren't even engaged yet, were we? I don't know. I'm looking at my mom. Yeah. Honestly, like time is just kind of blurry for me. And
yeah. I can't remember. Time is very warpy since COVID, because I was going to say it's been 2 years since we've done a live coffee and coin, but someone on my event team reminded me that at the beginning of 2020 was 3.5 years ago. So simple math, y'all. Do you remember how much that house purchase was?
Yeah, so that was $449. And thinking back now, like the location that we got it in, like that'd be really hard to find now. So I'm really grateful because when we moved here, I had thought that we already missed, that we were behind or we were late in getting into the market. But that was in 2018. And I guess like things blew up even more after that. So
Oh yeah.
I'm really grateful that we got in when we did.
Who bought pre-pandemic real estate in this crowd? Ayo, well done. Who here has bought a home with a non-married partner? All right, love to see it. We also have the founder of Open House here. She's all about houses before spouses. Okay, so that was a big purchase that really got you a lot more focused on your money. And oh, by the way, she talked about these monthly finance meetings that she does with her husband. You all know you're getting a really cool Notion personal finance hub template after this. We collabed on that. So you'll get those monthly meetings and you'll get some Factora investing checklists.
Inside of those meeting notes, there's like a template that we follow, all the questions that we ask ourselves each month. And we do it month after month. So that'll all be in the finance hub.
Yeah. And it's really cool because you can obviously make those your own, right? Like there's the template, but what do you and your partner, if you have one, need to talk to feel good around your money? But back to that intro, talking about money is just, you got to start there. Okay. So let's talk about in your money journey thus far, what would you consider one of your biggest money wins?
I'd say my biggest money win was pivoting my focus in my business away from when I first started. I think actually, I want to kind of go back and share a little bit of how I got started. So I started my blog almost 10 years ago. In January, it'd be 10 years. And
what was it called?
It was called Om and the City. And that was my way of documenting my wellness and health journey. I was working in fashion as a design assistant in New York. It was a very toxic environment. And so I wanted some sort of creative outlet to be able to document and just share the things that I was learning in my wellness journey. So I started that. And since I didn't take social media really seriously until maybe 2 years after that. And at one point I wanted to delete my blog because I felt like nobody was reading it and it wasn't worth doing. But I'm glad that I didn't because obviously things have evolved. But yeah, so when I started that, I didn't know about monetizing or anything about business. It was my creative outlet. So I guess at like the peak of Instagram days, partnerships, brands, things like that, that was all very new to me. And so it was kind of on like the first wave of that. And that was the only way that I knew to monetize at the time. And I just wanted to continue creating content, but that was a way to support myself while creating the content. So brand partnerships, that was like how I first started, but being able to pivot and focus more on my own creations, like digital products, Notion templates, courses, things like that. That was me jumping out of my comfort zone to create something that I believed in and wanted to try. And I'm glad that I pivoted into that because that's been my biggest money win because it's become a really sturdy income stream in my business today.
I love it. I'm also just personally interested. So what year did your blog get started?
2014.
And blogging kind of came around in 2008. Does anyone know when blogging was?
I don't know. Like I had like a Zanga, I had a live journal, I had a Tumblr. I've always been writing.
Okay. And so how long were you at your job blogging on the side or doing this work on the side? And did you monetize with partnerships before you left full-time work? I
was starting to, like I charged $35 for an Instagram post. And I remember thinking back then, like, how does anyone do this full time? Like, there's not even enough days in the month to even work with that many people. So yeah, I was working. So I worked in fashion and then I went to like a jewelry brand and then I went to like a tech startup and I was working there, but also like working on my blog from like 7 p.m. till 1 a.m. And that was just kind of my life for a while, just trying to do the thing that I was really excited about, the thing that I looked forward to after work. And so I spent time building that. And when I finally left my job, it was kind of like a weird situation that I can go into.
Yeah.
Yeah, like my boss did not like me. I don't know. We just did not hit it off. And I felt like I had confronted her and said like, hey, like, did I ever do something to make you not like me? And that just made it worse. And so ever since then, it was just kind of like, I just never felt comfortable going to work. I felt like so much anxiety and just scared of like getting in trouble or doing something wrong. And my blog was like the thing that I was holding on to, like, okay, maybe one day I can do this and this will be my full-time job. So yeah, then eventually like I left that job and then just started floating in the air like, okay, got to make it work because I got to pay my rent.
All the bow lines, right? That's how you do it.
Mm-hmm.
I know y'all want to know how much she charges for an Instagram post now, right?
I'd have to look it up.
Because I'm a manager.
I'm a manager, but I also don't like to do like one-off things. And I'm really, really picky about my partnerships. I've always been that way. I have a very strict set of values and standards. And so usually it's like a package deal of something. So I don't even know really like a la carte.
Totally. We'll get more into the details and the numbers. Don't worry, y'all. But that is something actually I really respect about you. I'm sure you all follow different people online and you can tell the ones that kind of do whatever partnership is available. And I know that you're very selective. Like, this is a brand I use and like, or would use and like, and how do I do a full like experience? So big money win was moving into creating your own digital products. What about a money, let's call it a flail instead of a fail?
So definitely, you know, as I started to see more growth in my business, I kind of hit a point where I'm like, I feel like I've hit my max of what I know, and I need to hire someone that knows more than me in this certain area, like business strategy and growth. And so I invested $35,000 into a business coach. And I know there's a lot of great coaches out there. Unfortunately, the one that I worked with, it wasn't an aligned fit. And that was a big burn for me because that was a huge investment. I was burned from coaches at that point, and since then have healed. And like, okay, there's great coaches out there. I'm sure like one day I will align myself with one. But yeah, that was just a big learning that there's a lot of people on the internet that share their knowledge, but you have to do your due diligence and make sure it's the right fit for you and ask tons of questions. Don't just hand over your money thinking that this person's going to actually help you solve the issues that you're trying to like learn from. But yeah, that was for me, a huge money burn and a big learning.
Totally. I mean, that's a car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got 50% back. So.
Oh, good job. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about money mindset, because one of the biggest things I've learned from teaching the Wealth Circle and running Factora is that if you don't believe that money is good, that you deserve to have money, which you do, I can tell you 100% that you do, and think that it is something okay for you to learn about and change up and build wealth, then you have already blocked yourself, right? Like, we have to believe that we deserve to be wealthy, that we can be wealthy, and we will, or we aren't going to make any of the necessary little changes that add up into the big transformations. So talk to me a little bit about your money mindset, just kind of over your journey from where you started out to where you are now.
I'd say my money mindset has definitely evolved over the years. I think getting started, I was definitely in that hustle mode, just trying to survive in New York City and try to save something. But now my money mindset it's definitely positive, and I am really grateful for the growth that I've seen in my business year over year. But I'm definitely more of a long-term thinker. So even though my business has grown, I want to make sure that I'm saving and investing like aggressively. That's kind of my mindset now, that I don't know what the future holds, but I want to make sure that the choices and decisions I make today are going to set me up for a more financially free future, because you can just never account for what life things are going to come up. And I might be at a point where I don't want to hustle. Like, I come at that point now where I'm not wanting to just like constantly be in build mode and I want to kind of coast and like how much is enough. So defining what my values are, what does a wealthy, abundant life look like for me? What number gets me to that point? And when can I stop constantly striving to just like outdo myself year after year after year? I think I'm just at a point now where I'm like wanting to just enjoy life and still work and do all those things. But yeah, I think you have to get clear on like what is enough.
And do you feel like you have been able to slow down because your business has done well? Like, have you built in that better time and space?
Yeah, because of digital products, it's definitely given me so much of my time back compared to before I had those income streams. So I think finding ways to create money essentially while you sleep is definitely the way to invest your time into.
We love passive income at Factora.
Passive income.
Okay, so let's get into it. Talk to me about money as a digital content creator. You have 7 income streams?
Yeah, well, in my business, I have, I'd have to like
pull up your notes. We want all the deets.
So for my business, I have digital products, brand partnerships. I have my online shop, The Homebodies, affiliate income, Google AdSense, which is YouTube, rental income, and then paper assets. So stock market, retirement, all that kind of stuff.
I love it. Okay. And so let's get into more numbers. Starting out, actually, pre-digital content creator, when you said you were in the fashion industry in New York, what was your salary around then? And maybe when you left a full-time job, what was your salary?
Yeah, so the most I've ever made in my 9-to-5 was $55,000. And my first year working for myself, I made $65,000.
Woo!
I was shocked too.
Isn't it amazing what happens when you bet on yourself? Mm-hmm. I also had a past life in New York City. I started my career in the beauty industry, also quite toxic. I'm sure there were a lot of similarities. And I was making $40,000 in New York. I'll never forget this because I moved to New York from Miami, Florida, where I was making a cool $25,000 and thought that I had just, without negotiating, because I didn't know I could do that, got myself a $15,000 raise, not understanding that Florida did not have income taxes and New York City, where I was moving to, had some of the highest. So actually, I went to New York and made less.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my first job was $35,000. I remember my dad's face like, good luck.
And that was in New York.
That was in New York.
Yeah.
He actually was the one that told me like, you better negotiate because they offered me $28,000. And he was like, you need to ask for more. I'm like, I don't know how.
And you did, and you got up to 35?
Yeah, it was so scary.
I love that. I'm so happy that you had that dad to tell you that because a lot of people don't do that. So raise your hand if you are someone who did not negotiate your first salary. Okay, raise your hand if you did. Yeah, I want that to look so different in a crowd of women from here on out. Okay, I heard some snaps. Thank you. All right, so you started out as a digital content creator making $65,000 your first year, and that was 10 years ago? No, 10 years ago you launched the blog. 6 years ago. Yeah. Okay, what do you on track to make this year?
So last year I made $550K. And this year I think I'm up 20% from that at this point. Let me see.
$1 million creative right now. I love it. Okay, so let's we broke down your income streams, but can you talk about if we're looking at your portfolio and it's made up of those stock market investments, real estate, and your business, cash alternatives, like break that down for us.
Okay, so for stock market investments, we've got 42% in there. And then, so that's filled with like ETFs, mutual funds, individual stocks. Real estate is 28%. I hope this number is correct. I was talking to you about it before. I think we calculated correctly, but 28%. My business, so actually to give clarity on how we organize our finances. So my business has my business account, and then my husband and I have a joint personal account. I take a salary from my business, and that business salary goes into my joint personal, and my husband's salary goes into our joint personal. So our personal is what we use to fund our lives and pay our expenses and all the things. My business is completely separate. But the breakdown for investments, it would be stock market 42%, real estate 28%, biz cash is 11%, joint cash 18%, and crypto 1%.
Little onesie.
1%.
How's everyone's crypto doing? I only laugh because, not so long ago, everyone was like, we need more speakers. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, everyone's quiet.
We have a crypto channel in the Factora Slack. It's just crickets. We're like, hey, how's it going with those crypto investments? You hodling? Okay. So let's actually dig into that a little bit, because raise your hand if you have a partner that you either share your finances with or you work strategically to get ahead. Okay. And so the rest of you are some awesome single ladies just pushing ahead. I love it. There are so many different ways to do partner finances, and I feel like too many to even talk about. But since we've got you in the hot seat and you're sharing how you do yours, tell us a little bit about how that journey has been. Because even you saying the way your business pays you a salary as if you were a W-2 employee somewhere. How did you kind of work out that structure?
Well,
and has it evolved over time?
Yeah, it's evolved. When I first started, I had what was it called? Like an EIN.
Yeah, just the business number.
I had just the very basic EIN, and I started to have like a separate bank account. Now I've evolved into, I'm an S Corp. I'm an LLC taxed as an S Corp.
Yep.
And legally I need to take a salary. So I am the one and only employee of my company, and I take a reasonable compensation. My accountant figured all this out. So Who
here has a LLC taxed as an S Corp? They're great.
Mm-hmm. Yes. It made a huge difference. Going from LLC to S Corp.
Yeah.
Saved a lot.
Yeah. So, okay. So then with you and your partner, initially you guys had, or were you even together when you had a full-time job? No, not until
yes.
you were okay.
We go way back to middle school, actually.
Oh.
My husband, he actually designed the first version of my blog, and that's how we reconnected. So yeah, fun fact. Adorable. He's been here since the beginning of everything. But when we were dating, it'd get kind of blurry, like who buys what. We would still kind of have separate finances, but as we moved in together, and then especially when buying a house together, that's when we really just decided to combine. It just made more sense, and the investments I was investing in were like the same that we just kind of, let's just join forces.
Consolidation.
Consolidate. Yeah, I consolidated. I don't like to have a ton of different accounts all over the place. I really wanted to just simplify that. So Andrew, he's the one that kind of manages. In the beginning, he managed picking the investments. And then after I took Factora, I wanted to be more involved in those conversations. And now I look forward to talking to him, being like, okay, I want to invest in this. Or we talk a lot about our dollar cost averaging and what, if we have excess in our checking account, we like to keep our checking account pretty low and use our credit card for most things and pay it off each month. But any extra that we might have, we put it into the stock market. So we just kind of talk about those things every month together. It's definitely a collaborative thing now.
I love that. Talk to us a little bit about your real estate portfolio. How much real estate do you have?
So we bought our first house in Austin, and that was our primary place we were living. And then just a year ago, we built a house. And so now we have our other house, and we decided to keep the first house in Austin, and we're renting it out. It's our first time doing that. And so far it's been good.
How's landlord life?
It's fine. They've been great. I don't hear from them, and it seems like everything's fine. They're super nice. Do you
manage that? Does your husband, or did you put in a property manager?
I manage it, but there's really nothing to manage. I hope I'm doing it right, because I feel like
you're doing great.
So far, so good.
You're just year one.
Yeah. So I don't know what next year might be, but these tenants have been great, and they can ask us any questions, and they're chill. So
I love it.
Hopefully they renew.
Okay, so 2 properties currently. Any plans for more real estate?
I don't know. Maybe. I think right now it's not a priority of ours, but we are open to the idea of it.
And out of your different investments, do you have a certain asset class that you favor or that you like to invest in the most?
I feel like I am still trying to get comfortable with all those things. But I'd say like I really enjoy being in on the conversations for the stock market, and I actually get excited about those things. But what I'm most interested in exploring is angel investing. Maybe I know it's like a risky area of the biz, but I love the idea of being able to invest in women-owned companies or brands that I really love and use. And so that's some beginning conversations that I've started to open up.
I love it. That is how we change ratios. We make a lot of money and then we go around and we use our dollars on women created ideas. So that's very exciting. Okay, so let's talk about what is your current savings rate or investing rate? Because I think you're not saving, you're just doing all investing.
So in the beginning, we wanted to build up a reserve in our savings, our high yield savings that I opened up because of Factora, Ally. We wanted to have an emergency fund, and then we have a couple different buckets in Ally to save for whatever short-term goals we're working towards. So whether that's a second car or family planning, down payment for the house.
Are those your current short-term goals? Second car and family planning?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So we have cash already kind of filled. We also have like a vacation fund just so that we don't feel guilty when we go on vacation, we can spend the money. And aside from that, like now we just focus on investing. So we actually invest 45% of our income in our personal joint account every month. And all of that is dollar cost averaging.
And so of the amount that you make as a creator, how much do you pay yourself as a salary?
My salary is $85,000.
Okay. Cool. What about your monthly fixed expenses? How much does it cost to be you?
So my fixed expenses, I would say definitely like mortgage. We have 2 mortgages. And any subscriptions that we have. This is different from like my business fixed expenses. I'd say like business fixed expenses is like the programs that we use, my email platform, which costs like $500 a month. It's so crazy expensive. But I wrote all this down. We have a car payment for our Volvo car payment, utilities, subscriptions. That's pretty much it. We don't have like a ton of fixed expenses.
Do you know the total number?
No, sorry. I should have looked that up.
Okay, so what about debt wise? We know you have 2 houses. Do you have a mortgage on both?
Yes. So okay. I guess we can dive into, I could kind of do some backwards math, but for fixed expenses, like our mortgage for both houses, our mortgage for our first house is around like $2,300. We refinanced during the pandemic, which was really helpful because that was.
What's that rate?
2.65%. So I'm holding on to that
forever and ever.
And then our new house, our mortgage is like 4 something. It went up higher because of the interest rates. And every time I'm like, is our house going to be ready yet? Because this interest rate keeps going up. I really need to close on this house.
Yeah, that's got to be a wild ride to be building while the interest rates are just.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was fun.
Hurry up, contractors.
Yeah, so that I think we got locked into 4.5 something. Yeah.
Okay. So total debt includes the 2 houses. Any other outstanding loans?
Just the car. Yeah.
Okay. So what's your?
So our debt is $900K, around $900K mortgage and $16K in car debt. Okay. But with our assets, it's $2.1 million in assets.
And then subtract the debt, and we are at a
1.2
net worth. Congratulations.
It's like scary to say out loud like what debt is, but that's like me rewiring my own brain that like not all debt is bad because these things are going to like appreciate over time.
Yeah,
and already have. So.
Absolutely. Have very similar net worth and debt load, and it can be quite shocking to think like, oh, I have $1 million net worth, but I also have like $1 million in debt, but I have a plan for it. Mm-hmm. So, okay. What other numbers you got for us?
What are the numbers?
Are there any more numbers? Or do we just need to talk about your future? What's next?
What's next? I think, yeah, I'm just, I'm in travel mode, family dreaming mode. Yeah, that's kind of been on my mind.
Just got back from Sweden.
Got back from Korea, Sweden. I'm taking my mom to Korea again in September. So going back to the motherland.
And so what excites you most about wealth building and being more in tune with your money?
I think I just feel very empowered these days to be able to talk about money transparently and to be able to talk about it with friends. I really appreciate the community that's come about from it, and that it doesn't have to be this hush hush thing, and it can be something that we're proud of. Because I think oftentimes as women, like we feel like, I don't know, like we shouldn't strive. I remember when like my goal was to make 100K, and that was all I thought that I could make. So I didn't even really know how to set financial goals because my business kept growing, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm making more than that now, but I guess we're doing this.
Yeah, now we're closer to 2/3 just in income annually. It's incredible. So what does your dream life look like in 10 years from now?
I just want to be spending my time intentionally with my family. I want to travel and just be, I honestly, like, I'm living my dream life right now. Like, I feel like this is how I want to feel. And I'm sure expenses and things will change as we grow our family. But right now, like, this feels great. And that's just how I want to feel in the future.
I love that. And so in those ally savings buckets, since one has the label of family planning, do you have a certain number you feel like you're saving before you start a family?
I think so far we've just allocated about 30K, but that's not really weighted in any research. It's just we put that money there.
It never is. There's no way to research that. Who here's had a baby that had a like savings amount for the baby beforehand? I know Gail has. Renee, how much did you have saved before you had a baby? 20K. Okay. We'll just do a consensus.
Good to know. Good to know.
Gail, what about you? Okay. Was it enough?
Wow. Okay.
30K sounds like a good start. I guess one thing I would also love to talk about is a beautiful term that I think we all resonate with. Financial freedom is something we're super passionate about at Factora, but I don't think a lot of people take time to define it. So I would love to know how you define financial freedom, because of course it sounds beautiful. It's got freedom in it and the thought of no money stress. But how does it look for you?
I think for me, it's just not trading my time for money anymore. So being able to set up passive income, and maybe not even necessarily just in my business, but with like real estate or other ventures, to be able to know that my living expenses are covered by my investments growth. And then to be able to work because I love it and enjoy what I'm doing, and be able to pour back into like my community and be able to do other ventures that I'm excited and passionate about, but not have to be on this like, okay, like I need to make this in order to afford the life that I'm living. I'm also very cautious of lifestyle creep, because I feel like oftentimes the more money you make, then you like start getting excited and start spending more. Because when I was making 35K in New York, I somehow, in the matter of like 1 or 2 years, I saved $10,000 because I didn't do anything. I didn't drink, and I was also like just super frugal. And I want to kind of keep that mentality that I had there as I continue to grow now, but still spend on the things that are important to me, like experiences and vacation, like be able to enjoy that, but also know that like the more money you make doesn't mean you have to keep spending more.
I love that. I always say that consumerism has a target on women's backs, and everywhere you look, someone's trying to get you to one-click purchase something that you probably don't need, but holy moly, I've been looking for those sandals and here they are on Instagram. So I get it. But it is really important to stay conscious of lifestyle creep, because it's sneaky, like creeps are. So, okay, any last money messages or words of wisdom you'd like to share about your money journey so far? You have a long way to go. Obviously, as long as we're living, we have the opportunity to build wealth and create more abundance and give back and invest in women and do whatever the things we are passionate about when we have more than enough for ourselves. But yeah, any last, while you're in the hot seat?
I would say like numbers are important to figure out where your North Star is, but don't get so hung up in the numbers that you forget about what the numbers are allowing you to do, and get clear on like, what are your values? What does your wealthy, abundant life look like? What is enough? Because I feel like it's easy to get into this hustle culture, like constantly having to strive for more and more and more. And it's like, yeah, don't limit yourself, but also live your life and find a place where you feel at peace and happy. Because money, yeah, you just got to get clear on what does that mean to you and what those numbers allow you to do.
Can we get a round of applause for this amazing woman? Okay, so if you were inspired by Jules, she took a well circle. There are many other women in this room who've taken a well circle. If you want to learn more about what a well circle teaches or how it goes down, find those women. But because we're opening up some early enrollment spots, and we don't typically do that. So if you want to snag a spot before the fall well circle starts, right before Labor Day, talk to someone on my team with a money emoji hat on. But talk to a woman who's actually experienced it first so that you can hear what it's about and why this community is so awesome. We'd love to have you. We're going to keep enrollment open for about 48 hours after this event. All right. You ready for some Q&A?
Sure.
All right, where's my Q&A mic? Oh, there's Pam. Fabulous. So who has some questions for this amazing woman who got up here and showed us? Oh, they're in the back. Hold on, the mic is coming to you so that the live stream ladies can hear you.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So my question is, since you started your business on your own, what do you do for 401k? Because I'm in the corporate world and I just don't know how to like even go that route.
Yeah, that's a good question. I have a traditional IRA, a Roth IRA, and a
Have a SEP IRA?
SEP IRA. I'm like, what's the third one?
Mhm.
And I'm looking into doing a backdoor Roth IRA now at this point.
So the SEP IRA is the one that you can do as a business owner. It's really great. But anyone can have individual retirement accounts. That's what IRA stands for. So I totally hear the idea of leaving corporate world can feel scary if you don't have those retirement account structures, but they are available for entrepreneurs. This country is really big on helping entrepreneurs because that's what we're built on. So don't worry. We're also going to take some questions from our virtual audience. So Liz, what are they saying online?
So Michelle wants to know, how do you stay consistent with your money habits?
You're very organized. I know that about you.
I think we just set it and forget it. You know, we're not really so strict on budgeting, like for each individual category. It's more like, are we saving the percentage that we want to save each month? And those are automated, so we don't have to like think about it. As long as we're saving and investing the percentage that we had set aside and we're paying all of our fixed expenses, paying off our credit card, all that, then the rest I feel like doesn't have to be so segmented for us. That's how.
Yeah, no, I would second that. I think that habits are hard. We all know that, right? We all want to have a beautiful 5-step morning routine and probably only do 1 or 2 of those. So automation when it comes to your financial accounts and the structure and the amount you want to be saving and investing is incredible. And we are lucky to live in a digital age where that's free. So anytime you have a bank account and you want to send money to another account or investment account, you can just set that up and, to your point, set it and forget it. And then you look back in a quarter and you're like, whoa, there's 12 grand in here.
Hey there. I have two questions. Can you talk a little bit more about that backdoor IRA? I think that means you're in a certain salary range and then my other question is what are some ways of taking advantage of tax advantages?
Yes. Yeah, I got you. Okay, so a backdoor you're only going to be doing once because it's a backdoor. So it's a way to get access to a Roth from a traditional. We'll want to talk about this because you'll be taxed on what you have in the traditional. But the better question is, how do you take advantage of tax advantage accounts? And so there are tax advantage accounts that we call retirement accounts, right? So if you work for a company, you typically have a 401k. If you don't work for a company, you have access to IRAs. You can still have an IRA if you have a 401k. Those are for individuals. And the contribution limit is going up for 2023. Does anyone know? IRA 6,500?
6,500.
8. Okay. And 401ks 22.5. Okay. All right. Not so rusty as I thought. And so with those accounts, you can put money in there. If it's a Roth, you're putting money in before taxes and then you're taking it out. Or sorry, it's pre-tax and then you're taking it out without taxes in the future. Or traditional, you're putting in right away and then it's getting taxed later. So it's just Uncle Sam's always going to get his. So is it getting taxed on the way in or on the way out? But the biggest component of the tax advantage is that your investments are going to grow tax-free the whole time they're in there. So obviously when we think about retirement, we think of a long off time typically, and we have this huge time horizon for our money to grow. And so we all want tax advantage accounts, but we also want non-tax advantage accounts because that just means you can access your money whenever you want to. So yes, you will be taxed on them. Don't forget, you're still taxed on these, it's just in a more advantageous ways. But these other accounts you're going to want access to because we don't want to wait until retirement to buy our dream vacation home or start our business idea or whatever it else is that we might want access to our cash and our capital.
Okay, so another one from the live stream. Where to start with investments? How do I make my savings and money grow passively?
That's a big question. And there would be a lot of ways to go about it. But the best way to get started with investing is to get the tax advantage account and then to get a brokerage account, the non-tax advantage. So all we're talking about is investment accounts, but they have different containers. And so if you are someone who is not currently investing or using a financial institution where you can put your cash in and then change that cash over to investments, then you're missing out on a lot of money. When you have your money invested and it's growing is when you have access to a passive income stream. And that's just one way to do it, but that's the easiest way to get started. And a lot of women come into the Wealth Circle and they're like, oh, this stock market, there's a lot going on. I'm not sure about it. And then they leave the Wealth Circle and they're like, stock market's easy. Set it and forget it. I got my index fund set up. I got my allocation right. I understand my risk tolerance. I'm going to move on to other asset classes, which take a lot more capital and a lot more strategy to get started. And I'm talking about real estate and business.
Hi, I have a question. Thank you so much for sharing. I especially liked the set it and forget it. Sticks in my head, but just a kind of more basic question. How do you stay organized? I think the most intimidating thing from going from, reading, listening to podcasts to actually doing it and putting the money in a Roth IRA and opening the accounts is that it's really intimidating to think about keeping track of all of these things. So do you have like a central repository? Do you set like weekly or biweekly like money dates to keep everything updated? Like how do you stay organized with all the accounts, the things you're doing, and then like the accountants or the people that you've involved to help you?
Yeah, I love it.
I mean, I think our finance hub that you all are getting is a great place to start because it's supposed to be a centralized place to document like different contacts that you have, but also like the meetings that you have, your accounts. I would put them, I love Notion, but you can use any other, whether it's an Excel spreadsheet, a Google Doc, and bullet point, what are the accounts that you have? I personally organize it by like, what's my retirement? What is like our Robinhood, like our stocks and stuff. We use Robinhood, Fidelity, Stash, and start to just have it all listed in front of you so you don't forget like which account has what, label it, and then have your monthly meetings or however feels good for you. But in our hub, we have like a tracker where you can like go through, I call it finance flossing, where you just ask like routine questions to kind of jog your memory or just get a good conversation going about your spending. But yeah, like using technology to help you get organized and put it all in a central place. That way you don't have to start from scratch every single month when you have to think of your finances. It's already hard enough to go and do those things, but the more you can just have it right in front of you and you know what to click on, you don't have to go searching, I think it's the best.
Yeah. And also what I heard in your question was just the intimidation of even getting some of the accounts open. And I think I want to touch on that because it's really important. Before I started Factora, I spent 2 years reading every financial book, listening to every financial podcast, waiting to hear the one woman come on the podcast who sounded like me, made as much money as me, was the same age as me, and was doing some recipe that I could follow. And I never found her. So I had to figure it out on my own. As we all kind of do, we have to go in and get the accounts ourselves. But Factora built a financial framework so that you can understand how to understand what accounts you should have and set them up. So everyone needs an emergency fund. Everyone should have at least one tax advantage account, if not two, if they have access to a 401k, a taxable brokerage, and different checking accounts, and then their automation set up. You should know your numbers. You should know how much your saving and investing rate is. And that is only something you can figure out once you really understand where your money is and what accounts you need. So basically that's what we teach in a Wealth Circle.
Okay, another one from the live stream. Lisa wants to know, do you have a financial advisor when it comes to stocks? And I'll take it a step further. If you do, have you always had one? For you?
No, we don't have a financial advisor. I did the Wealth Circle, which helped me get more defined on all these different money terms. And then we've met with the financial consultant where it was like a one-off fee, but I don't want to pay that one person. Yeah, so like I don't have an advisor, but I don't know.
Yeah. There's 3 ways to invest in the stock market. There's doing it yourself. There's using a robo-advisor, which I'm sure you guys have all heard of companies like Betterment and Wealthfront and Ellevest. Those are robo-advisors. And then there's hiring a financial advisor. And the fees go in that order from least expensive to most expensive, because financial advisors are typically going to take 1% to 2% of your assets under management, which sounds so small at first, but 40 years later, that's 25% of your pie. So if you would have taken home 4 million, you're only taking home 3. Someone else got 1 million of your investments. So it's not to say that there's anything wrong with financial advisors. They're great. I plan to have one because I'm going to have so many millions. But at this point in time, I love feeling empowered to manage my stock market investments myself, and you're all capable of doing it.
Hello, I have a question. I'm curious about your opinion now on bonds and putting it in short-term bonds. Maybe because the stock market's so volatile, and right now the percentage rate is so high. So I'm just wondering how you feel about that.
Yeah, so the way you create the best asset allocation for yourself is really thinking about your risk tolerance and where you are in your financial journey. So a lot of it starts with not just your current income and financial situation, but also your amount of time left before you need to utilize that money. So more conservative portfolios will have more bonds, and more risky portfolios will have more stocks or equities. And so for me, I'm a high risk gal. I plan on leaving my money for a long time. So I'm happy to have that volatility because I know I'm not going to draw on it for a while. But I also have different accounts for different things. So in my far off retirement accounts, it's 90% stocks. But when it comes to short-term bonds, I think that they're great. It just depends on what you're using them for, what the goal is for taking advantage of them. Right now, you guys probably know your high yield savings accounts are like, what are some of the numbers of your high yield savings accounts? 4. All right. Okay. So 2 years ago, they were nil, right? And the stock market was flying. So you kind of see that they have this inverse situation, which is what you're seeing with bonds. Yeah.
I have a business finance related question. So after you take your salary and pay your expenses, how do you approach what's left over and like reinvesting in your business, and kind of what does the excess look like?
Great question.
Yeah, that's something that I recently had to figure out because I guess when you're an S Corp, you can take owner's distributions. And so I had to talk to my accountant a lot about how much can I take out and put in investments, because I don't want it just sitting in this checking account or savings account that's making nothing. So I do have like a chunk that I took out that's in a high yield savings that I plan to use for like a business investment or as like a reserve if I want to do like some angel investing. But the excess I now keep in my high yield. I have a Robinhood, which is personal. So I actually take it out as like an owner's distribution because the last thing I want is just sitting on a bunch of cash. So yeah, pretty much high yield or put it in the stock market. I also have a LLC an LLC brokerage account. And I was contributing to that, but my accountant said that there's no difference. Like I could just take that as an owner's distribution and just put it towards the investments that I already had in place. Because for me, I'm like kind of picking the same investments in both of these accounts. There's only so many things that I know I want to invest in. So it just made it easier to consolidate.
Yeah, I would also say that it's so dependent on the type of business you run, because she shared she's the only employee at her company, but Factora is an LLC S Corp and we have a lot of employees. So I have to be really thoughtful about making sure I've got a business emergency fund so that our payroll is always going to get paid. So I would just say it's so particular about your type of business that you're running and how much capital you need to keep on hand versus what you can take back for yourself. Because obviously we want to run companies so that we can have that value taken back into our personal lives as well.
Yeah, actually, I talked to my accountant about that because I have contractors that work with me that I've been working with for like 4 or 5 years now. And so I would make sure, like, what is the amount that I always need to have in my payroll account to be able to keep things running?
Yeah. Do you have like a 3 or 6 month business emergency fund?
Yeah. So that's in my high yield savings. That's in like a label, do not touch. This is just my reserve.
I love it. Well, I think that's it for questions. I want you guys to have enough time to mix and mingle and rehydrate, recaffeinate before you go on with your beautiful Saturday. I do have to thank some of our sponsors who help bring Coffee and Coin back to life. We're back. So obviously the Cathedral ATX, there was a beautiful tea that was donated. It's called Kinship. I know I was going to get that wrong. Kinship tea. Definitely check that out. Atlas Coffee. It's an amazing coffee subscription brand. My husband and I get it. We are obsessed. Did I forget any sponsors? And most of all, I would like to thank my team, Team Factora, and all of our event staff. Thank you so much. And if you're interested in the Well Circle, find them. I know.